Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. Shout out to the Salem Coven members who are seeing this first. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And if you haven't already connected me over on Patreon, it's completely free to join and you'll still get some perks. I'll occasionally drop a YouTube video there early, or I'll make a previously only accessible for the Salem Coven members, accessible for everyone. If a video is ever blocked after I post it on YouTube, it will be available for free on Patreon, plus it's ad free. However, if you are interested, you can join the Salem's Coven members, which is an all access membership that gets you early access to all my content, extended versions, exclusive live streams, unblurred visuals like music videos, requested live performances, interviews, things that I either can't put on YouTube or I have to blur for YouTube, documentaries, more weigh in what I do next, things like that. All of the information will be in the description below. Today we're going to be doing the next installment of the Introduction to series, which we're doing in between album reactions for the voted on selected artists that we're currently working our way through their discography. These videos are being sprinkled in between. These are artists that were voted on by the entire Patreon community, and then the Salem Coven members gave me a few songs, and the most requested songs, we're going to be reacting to those. I'm trying to get them to where they are different points of an artist's career, just so we can see, just like at a really high level, their evolution allows us to explore a new artist that we will hopefully get to their full discography in the future. Now, obviously I have heard J. Cole not only in my own personal life, but also on this channel. During the Kendrick journey, there was a few J. Cole songs that popped up, but in my own personal life, I do have a few J. Cole songs. I'm sure they are the most known if I know them. So I did just want to look at my playlist, and I believe it was No Role Models, Workout, Power Trip, She Knows. I just went and looked at his most popular songs to see off the titles. I know I have all of those on a playlist. I don't know if none of the other ones sound super familiar. I'm excited to get to jump into this. Obviously, I like the ones that I have on my playlist, but I've also enjoyed all the songs that we listened to throughout Tale of Two Cities. I liked his verse on First Person Shooter. Oh, we did the Black Friday where him and Kendrick rapped over each other's beats. We are going to start with one of his earlier tracks, which is Back to the Topic.
Yeah. No, let me go ahead and murder this shit. Voice gone and shit. I think it's gonna make it sound a little ill. It's a little iller. Yeah. Vietnam, nigga. Yeah. Carolina blue kicks, pedal to the metal. Feeling like a puppet and the devil is Geppetto. Let her to the ghetto. Hold your head high, you can pick apart my raps. I ain't told you now lie. My word a little darker like a fucking tan line. Go and look for a better nigga, girl, you can't find. Fine young man with an old man mind. No time for the chick who fucked the whole mankind. Oh no ma'am, I'm an old landmine. I've been waiting to blow up for a long damn time. Now I'm on and I'm Vietnam's finest, Carolina savior, marijuana blazing. Only on occasion can my mind be racing. Lost in my thoughts so my eyes be Asian. Thinking how these rap niggas gotta be faking. Whole style obviously copy, pasted, plagiarized swag. May arrive last, but when it's all said and done, I'ma be ahead of them. Way that I describe, they prescribe a nigga medicine. Way that I be fly, I be hide in the Jettisons. Moving on up, nigga, hide in the Jeffersons. All about the Benjamins, bad chicks cinnamon. Basic hoes toss them out, can't even get Waffle House. Hating niggas chalk them out, go and get the coffin out. What you talking about, lil'?
Okay, I kept there's no good place to stop. I kept thinking oh, there'll be a little break or something. None. There was none. Okay, I really like this. I don't know the best way to verbalize. There are certain songs that we come across that I feel like maybe the best way to say it is I feel like I pick up on some of the references better than others. And while I would not say that I picked up on, by any means did I pick up a lot when it came to Kendrick, but I felt like I would grasp it. I don't know, maybe it's just the terminology he uses or some of the references. I definitely didn't get a lot of his references. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know, I feel like sometimes I pick up a little bit more in comparison to like some artists we've covered. Again, not saying I'm picking up on like all that I should be picking up on by any means, but I just mean like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes maybe it's just the word choices or certain things that are like recall for me. So like the puppet and the Geppetto, like I loved that. Oh, and the Jetsons and then the Jeffersons. I don't know, something about this just feels like I feel like I'm getting it. I don't know if that makes sense. I also like the way he said like voice gone. I think it's gonna make it a little iller, like because he sounds a little sick. I love that. Carolina Blue kicks. I love the feeling like a puppet and the devil is Geppetto. That I really liked that. Letter to the ghetto, hold your head high. You can pick apart my raps. I ain't told you none lie. And then the my world a little darker like a fucking tan line. Like, I don't know, I really like this. Fine young man with an old man mind. Love. I've been waiting to blow up for a long damn time. Now I'm armed and I'm Vietnam's finest. So like Fayetteville, but Vietnam, I like that. Carolina Savior, marijuana blazer. Only on occasion, because my mind be racing, lost in my thoughts. And I just like that, how that connects with, you know, thinking about the old man mind. And oh, I even skipped this line about the an old landmine and then the Vietnam's finest. Like I feel like I see more of the interconnectiveness, I guess you would say. Lost my thoughts. I've got to be faking. Whole style obviously copy pasted. Plagiarized swag may arrive last. See, I love that. But when it's all said and done, I'm gonna be ahead of them. Way that I describe it, prescribe a medicine. Way that I be fly, I be higher than the Jetsons. I love that. Moving on up, higher than the Jeffersons. All about the Benjamins. I also, you brought in Waffle House. Like, you can't bring in Waffle House and me not like this. Come on. Chalk them out, go out, get the coffin. Ooh, I really like this. Surprisingly, I like the kind of distortion. It's got that kind of noise where it doesn't sound very clear. Sometimes that kind of sound in a production can be a little overstimulating to me, but this, I really like it. It just adds that nostalgia almost, more dated feel, if you will. And I really like it. Also, for the record, I'm just singing the theme song for the Jetsons now in my head, so there's that. Also, I just scrolled back down to where we're at, and I don't think I fully grasped until like just the second I needed to see it again. Chalk them out. Go get so like chalk them, like you draw the why did that not click until I sat here for a second? Anyways, we're moving on.
Hating niggas talk 'em out, go and get the coffin out. What you talk about, little man? My shit here burning, you not even Lil 10. I'm ill enough to kill cancer, baby, I'm chemo. Down in Miami and I'm throwed like Marino. Get a whole lot of you know, and she balled like an ego. No, not up top, but down there. She say she wanna hop on top, girl, I don't care. You better get yours before I reach mine, cause then I'm throwing peace signs. If you a freak, I can take you to your peak, girl, I do it to the maximum. Nissan. And I hope you a believer. I'm quarterbacking, trying to get you open like receivers. Far from an overnight achiever. Cold is like the leader of the new niggas. To tell the truth, I'm only fucking with a few niggas. If that, the rest of y'all niggas get left. I sit back and reflect on the rap game. I came from out of nowhere. Nigga, I swear them lames ain't know how to prepare. Got niggas shouting out the Ville, I gotta go there. Boy, don't you know you get shot over there? I say my prayers cause this life ain't fair. A bunch of backstabbing niggas hope the knife ain't there. A bunch of temptation facing when your wife ain't there. Yeah, late at night when I got the phone call and made her right. When my crib was straight ahead. Shawty gave me head. Hit it, then I quit it, for she even made the bed. Damn, I'm no good, but damn, it's so good. I'm picturing that body like a camera phone would. Something like Rihanna while I'm up in that vagina. Type of chick that only dress in something that's designer. I could give a fuck long as it's something that's behind her. Got the type of bumper make a dog wanna hump her. Back to the topic, actually forgot it. Hoes.
Actually forgot it is actually funny. Like that's funny. Ooh, I like that you not even a little tan, and that going back to the tan lines, going back up to the very beginning of the I'm ill enough to kill cancer, baby, I'm chemo, and then him starting it by saying like I'm a little sick, I'm the illest, or it'll make it the ill, whatever it said. I don't think I said that. Just a little iller is what he said. Obviously, that was a lot better than whatever I said. Anyways, Eagle and oh, that's also I love that. I feel like those contradict each other a little bit. Like, you better get your words before I reach mine, because then I'm gonna throw peace signs. But then it's I can take you to your peak. I just thought that was kind of funny. I do it to the maximum Nissan. That's funny as well. I hope you a believer. I'm quarterbacking, trying to get you open like receivers. Far from an overnight achiever. And that going back to earlier of him saying, like, you know, he'll lap them, but he's been around for a while. Cole is like the leader. And then him saying, you know, like, I sit back and I reflect on the rap game. I came out from nowhere. But also thinking about him talking about how he's in his head a lot earlier in the track, being wise in the mind because he feels older in his mind because of the things that he's gone through. Yeah, I say my prayers because his life ain't fair. Loved that. A bunch of backstabbing, hope the knife ain't there. A bunch of temptation facing when your wife ain't there. Oof. I got a phone call and made a right, but my crib was straight ahead. Also picturing that body like a camera phone would. But my favorite, I really do think, is the back to the topic. Actually, I forgot it, which makes a lot of sense with the title being that of him kind of, it's like he's bouncing around to these things. And I wonder if that is kind of, in a way, explaining what it's like to chase this dream, right? Where it's like, you're trying to go after your dreams, you're trying to stay true to yourself, and you don't want to be fake. He's all up in his head, but you can get lost in your head. You can get lost in thought. So you're trying to steer yourself back on topic within the song, but also within the temptations of things around you, which is why, like, that's the puppet master. And him talking about, like, devil is basically Geppetto. And those temptations are, you know, not being true to yourself, not being faithful, getting distracted by, you know, lust, and then trying to like get yourself back on track, and also being plagued by, at least it's got this undertone of being plagued by where he came from, what he's seen, what he's experienced, also will come back to haunt you in your mind as well. And that goes back to that feeling like he's, you know, older than he really is in his head. So I like the way he named this track, because it just once you get to that part, it makes it all kind of click together, like, oh.
Money, I'm the shit, oh yeah, I'm reminded. The way I put the words together, cleverly align them. These other rap niggas should never be a problem, and I'm ghost, nigga. Yeah, let me hear that. Woo.
I like that. I liked that. Looks like it's from this album or mixtape. I don't know what it is, EP, but it's Friday Night Lights, which I do like with the whole, you know, Carolina Blue. I think that was a really cool to get to see him, because I think this is from like 2010 maybe. And I'm pretty sure, what is it? Forest Hill Drive? Is that the name of the album? Right? I've heard a couple of songs from that one, obviously. And so I think that one was 2014 maybe, or 15, somewhere in there, I think. So it's cool to get to see him even before that. I don't know how early this is on his journey, but it's earlier than I have heard thus far, at least to my knowledge. So that was really cool. You know, a lot of people have said that they think I will like him. I don't know that anybody's really said it in this way, but the way that it comes across to me is maybe to do with like how introspective, or like how much he's in his brain maybe. And the fact that got brought up in this track makes me feel like maybe I am on the right track of why people think that I'll kind of vibe well with Cole. I've liked everything I've heard so far. That was a really good pick. Appreciate getting a recommendation that is from earlier on as just like a little highlight reel to kind of get us excited for hopefully diving into his, you know, discography in the future. Obviously, Salem Coven members vote on that, so I am merely here, but I know a J. Cole journey has been requested a lot, so I feel like that will be in the future for sure. Okay, let's move on to the next track, which is Wet Dreams.
Cold world. Yeah. Let me take y'all back, man. As I do so well.
I do have to say, at least all the tracks that I've heard so far, aside from maybe like the first person shooter feature verse, they've all seemed pretty chill, laid back. I don't know, there's kind of a nostalgia to some of it. It doesn't seem as fast paced. And don't get me wrong, I love a good fast paced song. But I guess what I'm getting at is like if his albums are like this, where they are not too crazy up and down, I feel like his albums might be something that I could just kind of put on whenever and not have to worry as much with like me and my sensory issues. Again, that may just be the tracks that I've interacted with, and that may not be the case, but so far, they've all been productions that haven't seemed like they would be too much for me at different points, just because sometimes like I'm a little too overstimulated with the sensory. That's something that I have to take into consideration. And so far, all of them have been really cool productions that just seem like, like he's like really putting his words forward, and the production is complimenting but not like overpowering. And I've really appreciated that, at least for the tracks I've interacted with so far.
Wasn't nothing like that. Man, it wasn't nothing like that first time. She was in my math class. Long hair, brown skin with the fat ass. Sat beside me, used to laugh, had mad jokes. The teacher always got mad, so we passed notes. It started off so innocent. She had a vibe and a nigga started digging it. I was a young and straight crushing, trying to play this shit cool. But a nigga couldn't wait to get to school. Cause when I seen them thighs on her, and them hips on her, and them lips on her, got me daydreaming, man, what? I'm thinking how she rides on it, if she sits on it, if she licks on it, make it hard for me to stand up. As time goes by, attractions getting deeper. Wet dreaming, thinking that I'm smashing, but I'm sleeping. I want it bad, and I ain't never been obsessed before. She wrote a note that said, you ever had sex before? Damn, and I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before.
See, and it's like even his storytelling, it sounds like he is introspective, looks at his life at different points of his life, and I do that. There's a self-awareness there, reflecting back on stuff, seeing where lessons have learned, looking back at old events in like a new lens. I enjoy that type of storytelling. I hit the wrong button. I was just trying to go. I was thinking I was on YouTube where I can press the little back and it goes back 10 seconds. But I'm not. Just ignore me.
And I ain't never did this before, no. 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 I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this. I wrote back and said, of course I had sex before, knowing I was frontin'. I said I'm like a pro, baby, knowing I was stuntin'. But if I told the truth, I knew that I get played out, son. Hadn't been in pussy since the day I came out one, but she don't know that, so she done wrote back and told me, oh, you a pro, homie? Well, I want you to show me. My mama gone for the weekend, so Saturday, baby, we can get the freakin'. That's when my heart start racing and my body starts sweating, baby, you done woke my little man up. I'm thinking how that body look naked when you laying on the bed. Teacher, please don't make me stand up. I wrote back like, yeah, baby, sound like a plan. Still trying to play it cool, sound like the man. But I was scared to death, my nigga, my stomach turned. Talking shit, knowing damn well I was a virgin. Fuck.
Okay, see, I also just appreciate, I don't know, I guess it's just, and maybe I'm wrong, like maybe this is just the type of music I've interacted with thus far. I say this as, a woman, so like, I feel like this is something that is vulnerable to talk about in the sense of like admitting this, making a song about that. But I think that that's important. And also just like admitting that you're, lying, trying to like act like you know what's going on when you don't. Obviously, we are still talking about physical intimacy, like we are still talking about that. But I feel like from a male perspective, like from the male lens, is an interesting thing that I haven't seen spoke about necessarily like in this way in a song, at least not off the top of my head, of that pressure essentially to not want to admit that, not wanting to say like, like no. That is really relatable. Patriarchal society that we live in, there is this expectation of, in the same way that we act like women have to be put into, these like virginal pure beings, or you're a slut. And it's like, we don't have time for that rant today, We just don't. But I've said this before, like, it does not just hurt women. It also hurts men. And like, it makes it to where talking about things and being in touch with emotions and all of these things like get, demonized for men. And this, toughness and like, oh, like I've done that in the same way that it hurts and oppresses women too. Like it doesn't serve anybody. You know what I mean? And so like I just kind of appreciate this song for what it is in the sense of at least being honest about that. And even if this isn't like a fully true thing, it's a topic you're discussing is the point. And that's enough. Like just the fact that you're showing that side of it and like, oh crap, like, this expectation of like, of course,
Talking shit knowing damn well I was a virgin. Fuck. And I ain't never did this before, no. 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 And I ain't never did this before, no.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. Earlier, I didn't want to stop it like right after we had just taken like a little pause break, but I love the way he breaks that up with that one extended no. I love the tone of his voice on that too.
And I ain't never did this before, no.
That feels, I don't know if this is going to make sense to anybody, but not necessarily because of a specific song, but I feel like that way of extending that out for some reason feels nostalgic to me. I don't know why, but it makes me think of like being at like the water park, them playing songs and like hearing that type of, I don't know why it evokes that for me, but it does. But that type of tone extended out feels a little nostalgic to me for some reason. If anybody knows what I'm talking about or feels the same way, not necessarily that specific, but like it feels a little nostalgic, please let me know that I'm not alone in this. And even better, if you know why I feel that way, because I'm trying to pinpoint why that feels nostalgic to me, and I just can't place it.
And I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before, no. I ain't never did this before, no.
I went a little too far back.
And I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this. You know that feeling when you know you finna bone for the first time. I'm hoping that she won't notice it's my first time. I'm hoping that my shit is big enough to fuck with. And most of all, I'm praying God don't let me bust quick. I'm watching pornos trying to see just how to stroke right. Practice.
That reminds me a little bit of the one Kendrick song. I can't even remember. It's off Good Kid, Mad City, right? Anyways, that line just reminded me of it a little bit.
I'm watching pornos trying to see just how to stroke right. Practice putting condoms on, how it go right. I'm in a crib now, nigga palm sweating, with a pocket full of rubbers and an erection. That's when my hands start touching and her face start blushing, and a nigga roll over on top. And then she get my pants unbuckled and her hands start rubbing on me. Ooh, girl, don't stop. It's time for action. Pull out the condoms real smooth, yeah, just how I practice. But right before I put it in, she flinched and grabbed it and said, I wanna get something off my mental. I can tell you a pro, but baby, be gentle, cause I ain't ever did this before, no. And I ain't ever did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did.
If I don't stop getting my timing wrong, I swear it was two and then the third one, right? Did it change or am I just forgetting? And I do have my timing wrong. It really doesn't matter, but
Before, no, I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before, no. And I ain't never did this before, no.
that one, it almost sounds like a higher pitch, or maybe it's someone younger. I don't know if I think that's just an effect, but it's such an interesting, hold on, go back. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I like it. It was throughout the track. It's interesting. I really like the storytelling on that one. And I liked that we got the switched perspective, right? It's like, I know you seem like, and I mean, I think that is a really it is an interesting song too because, you know, relatability and like I said earlier, pressures of society and all these things, right? But to me, at least, it's bigger than that, right? It's these ways that we protect ourselves and don't want to admit when you don't know something. And especially when it comes to physical stuff in general, like pretty relatable, but also just the ways that we interact with people, even if it's not in like that sort of setting, that vulnerability of letting people know that you don't know something in general is a vulnerable thing to do. I just appreciate him, you know, showing both sides of we're both in the same boat, but neither one of us wanted to admit that we were in the same boat, you know? And it's in that moment, like he knows that it's gonna be okay, right? But, you know, on the other side, it's like she doesn't know that he's in the same boat. And that's where like the communication thing, right? It's a commentary on something that's bigger than just this because it's applicable in so many situations, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I appreciate that about a good story. When you're working through something that's not just about this one thing, it can be applicable to so many things. That universal truth kind of moment is really cool. Okay. That was good. I get why you guys wanted that. We're gonna fast forward, so that was 2014, I believe, and we're gonna fast forward to 2016 to False Prophets. That's kind of trippy. Hold on, go back.
Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this, be like this. Somebody should have told me it would be like this. Yeah. Life is a balance. You lose your grip, you could slip into an abyss. No doubt, you see these niggas tripping. Ego in charge of every move, he's a star. And we can't look away due to the days that he caught our hearts. He's falling apart, but we deny it. Justifying a half-ass shit he dropped, we always buy it. When he tell us he a genius, but it's clearer lately. It's been hard for him to look into the mirror lately. There was a
I'm gonna... When is this? 2016? Is this? Okay, wait, hold on. I'm gonna start this over. Hold on, go back. If this came out, why did I not get to hear this in 2016? I would have really appreciated this in 2016, for sure. I wasn't sure until that one line.
Somebody should have told me it would be like this. Yeah. Life is a balance. You lose your grip, you could slip into an abyss. No doubt, you see these niggas tripping. Ego in charge of every move, he's a star. And we can't look away due to the days that he caught our hearts. He's falling apart, but we deny it. Justifying a half-ass shit he dropped, we always buy it. When he tell us he a genius, but it's clearer lately. It's been hard for him to look into the mirror lately. There was a time when this nigga was my hero, maybe. That's the reason why his fall from grace is hard to take. Cause I believed him when he said his shit was pure, ain't he? The type of nigga swear he real, but all around us fake. The women, the dick riders, you know the yes men. Nobody with the balls to say something to contest them. So he grows out of control until the person that he truly was all along is starting to show. Damn, wonder what happened. Maybe it's my fault for idolizing niggas based off the words they be rapping. When come to find out, these niggas don't even write they shit. Hear some new style bubbling up, then they bite this shit. Damn, that's what I get for lying to myself. But fuck it, what's more important is he's crying out for help. While the world's egging him on, I'm begging him to stop it. Playing his old shit, knowing he won't top it. False prophets.
Ooh. Ooh. I feel like this is one of those times where, and this is something that I feel like Taylor does a lot, is, and I'm gonna do the same thing here that I do with her because I think that that's fair. A lot of times it gets caught up in like the who is it about, but often I think it is, yeah, you may be working through a story that centers or drew inspiration from an individual, but it's a bigger than that, right? Like it's a bigger conversation that happens and has happened all throughout her discography, and it can be frustrating when you're like fixated on one person. So I'm gonna, you know, approach this the same way I would Taylor's, and seeing that like, yeah, I think there's definitely some inspiration being pulled from a particular individual. that this is applicable to, but I do think that it is also a bigger commentary about, in general, when your idols, the people who you looked up to, sometimes it's that who someone was all along, you didn't know them at all, right? And sometimes it's that they actually do change. Sometimes you don't get to know that, and that's a hard thing. It goes back to that whole thing that people talk about all the time of like, don't meet your heroes. And I think that that is true for a lot of people, and it's balancing out. Sometimes we put people on a pedestal. People are allowed to be human. Everyone has made mistakes. Everyone has done something they wish they would have done differently. Everyone has done stuff that is not going to paint them in the best light. Like, no one is perfect, and you can be the most genuine, kind human being, and there's probably someone out there who doesn't feel that way about you. And sometimes that's a projection of themselves too. That said, it's also important on the other side of that to recognize when someone has changed, it's gone beyond just like a mistake or two, right? Like I've talked about this before. I think fame and celebrity and public figures, I can't imagine what that's like. I think that it comes with an immense amount of privileges and all of those things, and I completely acknowledge that. On the flip side, I don't think that the human mind was made for the amount of exposure we have today. Even in like old Hollywood and stuff, we saw the effects of that. But this is, in my opinion, I think today it's so much worse because this is not just, oh, you've seen them on the film screen. You have access to people in a way that is unprecedented. And you also are hearing feedback in a way that is unprecedented. And also, I feel like the hiding behind the screens and the amount of bots out there that are not even real people, but they're just stirring up trouble on the internet and rage baiting, that is a whole different level. This is a different environment than you had 20 years ago even. And in some ways, it's good to be able to like expose things that do need to be brought to light. But there's always this balance between the cancel culture and the purity politics, right? That's where I find myself really trying to figure out like, where's those lines for me as a person, and what do I feel comfortable supporting as a consumer or as a fan or whatever that may look like. And it is hard being canceled for valid, harmful, horrible, horrendous things that people do. Absolutely. People need to be accountable for their actions. On the other side, we also will try to cancel people for stuff that it's like, come on, you know what I mean? And I think that's especially applicable to like a lot of women in the spotlight, because it's like you see the like things that they're canceled for in comparison to what some men are canceled for. And it's not that cut and dry, right? Like, there are unfair cancelizations of every person on the gender spectrum. And there's also valid cancellations across the spectrum. But it's a hard tightrope to walk. And I'm sure that's also really hard looking up to someone and then also rising to your own sort of fame and success, and then realizing that maybe people are not who you thought they were when you get to meet them on a personal level, or they've changed who they are on a personal level.
Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this, be like this. Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this. False prophets. Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this, be like this. Somebody should have told me it would be like this. Yeah, false. I got a homie, he a rapper and he wanna win bad. He want the fame, the acclaim, the respect that's been had by all the legends. So every time I see him, he's stressing, talking about niggas don't fuck with him. This shit is depressing, and I know he's so bitter he can't see his own blessings. Goddamn, nigga, you too blind to see you got fans, nigga. And a platform to make a classic rap song to change a nigga's life, but you too anxious living life. Always worry about the critics who ain't never fucking did it. I write what's in my heart, don't give a fuck who fucking with it. But in a sense, I can relate. The need to be great turns into an obsession and keeps a nigga up late writing words, hoping people observe the dedication that stirs in you constantly, but intentions get blurred. Do I do it for the love of the music, or is there more to me? Do I want these niggas to worship me? False prophets.
It's a fine line to walk, and I think that it's sometimes easier to judge from the outside. And this is why I think that to a certain extent, sometimes I think we do hold celebrities and stuff to an unrealistic standard because they don't operate the way that we, perfectly want them to. We also have a tendency sometimes to let some people get away with too much. And I think that is a fine line. People whose jobs are their art, right? And that could be a sculptor, a painter, all those things. I was actually listening to this, I think it was like a clip on TikTok, but it was of someone who has a podcast, and they were talking about highbrow versus lowbrow art, and the idea of the more popular something becomes, the more people consider it to be less serious. And it also brought into like that dynamic, some gender thing as well, because that does have a part to play. And I think the same thing can be said about different things like race or sexual orientation. There's the intersectionality there. Both things can be true. It's not just women who experience this, right? But I think that there are different layers, just like I think there would be different layers of what someone experiences if they are a Black man in the industry. It's like we expect people to quote Taylor's recent album of like, they want to see you rise, but they don't want you to reign. As a society, it feels like we want to like lift people up, and we want these underdogs to succeed. But then when they get there, it's like people kind of lose a little bit of empathy in a way. Well, now you have access to resources, or now you have this, so like all of your problems go away. And again, I just don't think that that's true. I think you can acknowledge someone has resources and privileges, but also acknowledge that they are still human beings with experiences and with human emotions and human psyches. To his point, there's a facet of critical acclaim that feels validating because it feels like the people in the industry acknowledging you. But then you also have to acknowledge the other side of it, which is like the political game of it all. Something we see a lot and a lot talked about. And I know that's been something that, we recently just watched Tyler, the Creator, calling out racism within the Grammys after, what was that? Was that Flower Boy or was that Igor? I think it was Igor. Flower Boy? Igor. It was Igor. Being a Taylor Swift fan, and she's talked about this in her documentary, like, for her, it was the validation aspect of, not because it was like, oh, I'm successful and I get all these awards. It was more about when you have so many critics, because she started when she was so young. She did not have like an easy entry. I know people think that she did because she just blew up and she's always been so successful, but it's like every single step of the way, she has been criticized immensely. Her first album does well. It's downplayed, right? Because she was a young girl. It's her second album and it's phenomenal, right? And she wins Grammy Album of the Year, the youngest one to do that. Billie Eilish has now been the youngest, but she's still the youngest in the country aspect of it. Then everyone was like, oh, well, she's still singing about, heartbreaks. They boil everything down, which is not true. And then it's like, well, she's not pulling her weight in the room, right? So then she comes back with her third album and it's completely self-written. Each time, every step of the way, she wouldn't be believed because every bit of her talent has always been so downplayed and diminished. And not to bring this part up, but her first run-in with Kanye was she thought everyone in the crowd was booing her and not booing him for doing it. And while she found out that that was not the case, I can't imagine having that many people in the industry who are supposed to be people that you like look up to and hope to aspire to and are peers, thinking that is a formative experience. She was chasing that validation. And then you have the other aspect of it, which is like the commercial success. As listeners, as fans and stuff, people want people to succeed and you want them to be relatable, but it is a business. And while I do think there's big changes that need to be made, artists can play into it, absolutely, and I'm not denying that. But I do think it's like when we only attack like a specific artist for that, instead of kind of seeing the larger narrative, I do think that there are levels to it. Yes, I think it's important to recognize when people are worrying too much about like the mainstream and not necessarily about the artistry. And I think that that's a valid critique, but I also think that everything should be in balance because at the end of the day, arts and humanities are already so devalued in our society that when you see an artist getting to create their art and it being commercially viable, at least in my opinion, you don't want to punish that too much because it's that commercial viability that's allowing them to continue to share their art with more people, get labels to put more effort and more funds and resources behind an artist. Obviously, it's not my place to comment, but from what I've learned and what I've observed, learning from different creators like FT Signifier and things like that, and learning more about history and the roots of rap and hip hop, that was my understanding was, a big key component to the Kendrick battle saga, right? Because you're also thinking about the exploitation of the Black talent that's come before, right? Which is completely valid. And that's something that I've learned a lot about. So it's a fine line. Where am I staying true to my artistry, but also still taking into consideration that like, this is my livelihood, this is a business. I don't think that I have all the answers. And I don't think that there's necessarily like a perfect combination or definition. I do think that perhaps the way I try to approach it, and if I find myself getting caught up into it, I try to remind myself that like both of those things can be true. You can lose yourself in the money, the power, and be consumed by that, and let that make you not be authentic to your artistry and your creativity anymore. But I also think that that can be villainized to the point where it's like seeing someone be successful and creative and doing the things that they want to do can also be painful for people, especially with the wealth gap that we have. It's hard to not see that. And I think it's valid to see it. And we should absolutely continue to call those things out. Ultimately, I'm getting at is that I think this is a really important song because it does discuss that. And that's something that we saw a lot throughout my Kendrick journey. And it's cool to see different perspectives on it and to also see, even just as like a fan who is the average everyday listener feels this certain way, but then to also see people within the industry or people who like were your heroes, seeing them fall down this, but also worrying about you falling down it yourself. I think it's authentic and real to say that you can want to be true to yourself and you can want to pretend that, any fame or notoriety, it means absolutely nothing to you. But when that is so everywhere and your livelihood and your ability to continue to create is so inherently tied to that because the industry is set up that way, because we live in a capitalistic society, because the industry is set up to be the machine that it is really hard and tempting, I'm sure, to not feel like you need to fall into that. So I just appreciate that conversation being continued.
Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this, be like this. Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this. False prophets. Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this, be like this. Somebody should have told me it would be like this. Yeah, false prophets. These rappers insecure. They talk about being a man so much I finally understand that they ain't even sure about who they are and why they do this. Guess I'm included in that category as a nigga who done had the glory. My highest moments come from telling all the saddest stories I've seen in my life. I be fiending to write songs that raise the hair on my arms. My lowest moments came from trying too hard to impress some niggas that couldn't care for mom. Therefore from here on out, my hair grow out. I care nothing about opinions. I wanna give hope like the fountains you throw pennies in. Hit the store, take your disc, make your wish. This is dedicated to the ones that listen to me on some faithful shit. I'm on some thankful shit. But the real God is in you, not the music you copying. I hit my old shit and know I can top it. False prophets.
Oh, I really liked that verse a lot. Going back, because I really haven't actually talked about the lyrics. I've been on so many tangents, sorry. Always worrying about the critics who ain't ever fucking did it. Because a lot of times, yeah, like the people who are like voting on these things or people who are just writing up or even just internet, put me in that too. And I try to make that really clear when I talk about art on this channel because I know sometimes people get, aside from like one or two of my videos, for the most part, I think most of the things I talk about are pretty positive. Even if something isn't for me, I still can appreciate it. And I know that some people don't always love that approach, right? Feel like it's too neutral. But to me, I think you can learn and you can be educated and you don't necessarily have to have done it to be able to have an informed opinion. But at the same time, I don't feel like personally I really fall into that. One, especially with like my hip hop and rap reactions, I don't feel like that's my place a lot of the times, especially because, I feel like I am a visitor in this space, but also because even from like a technical and a musical standpoint, I can tell you what I like based on what I like, right? And I feel like I am better when it comes to lyrics, but when it comes to music and things like that, but even when it comes to lyrics, I do not claim to be any sort of expert here. I'm a random person on the internet. Something may be your favorite thing and it may not be my favorite thing, and that's okay. Also, just try to not add any unnecessary hate to things for the most part, just because I feel like sometimes I'm not the person for that piece of art, and that's okay. Sometimes I see a painting and someone can think it is a masterpiece, and I may see it and be like, that's a piece of art, it doesn't mean the same thing to me because I don't see it and it's in the eye of the beholder. That whole cliche is so true. I try not to put a lot of negativity out there because I also feel like, who am I to say that something isn't good? I can say that it's not for me. I can say that I don't really love it for me, but that doesn't mean that it's not good, because at the end of the day, art is subjective. But it is interesting when you think about, people who come on with like hot takes on the internet or even a general, critic. It's easy to say things are hard or easy or whatever if you've never done it before. That's not to say that I think that there's no room for critiques, but I think especially recently, in the past few years, I feel like things have been getting more and more negative. And I think that it's monetization of content. And I say this as a content creator. Inflammatory hot takes, negative hatred, things like that. That sells. People, in a way, are like incentivized to have those types of takes. I think that is a slippery slope. I think it's a dangerous one. I think it's okay to say, like, something isn't for me. And I'm not saying you're not allowed to say, like, hey, like, I don't think that this is the best thing. I think you can critique, but criticism comes from a place of, one, actually giving things a chance. I think that criticism has to come from a place of good faith, that you genuinely desire to help someone else improve. And I think that you can do that without tearing someone to shreds. I say this hoping that you come to this with good faith as well. Like, it goes back to the cancel culture thing. I'm not talking about offenses that are morally, like, someone is causing harm. That is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about, like, for example, you hear a song and you're like, I think that that vocal performance wasn't the best. If your goal is to tear someone down, or you're going into this quote critique with the intention of proving that your opinion that someone is not a good singer or not a good rapper or whatever, if you're coming to it with that, that's not good faith. Good faith comes from that you genuinely want someone to improve, and you're giving feedback that you believe might actually help them improve. I think there is space for critique. And I do think that within fandom culture, sometimes we do not allow space for critiques. Someone is allowed to say, hey, this isn't for me, I just don't think it's that great, and move on. It's how you engage with that. You can say, hey, I don't like this. And you can also give a reason, like, I don't like this because I think like I said, the vocal performance isn't great. Production is choppy, or whatever your critique is, right? You can say that this isn't for you or you don't like it because of these reasons without being like, this person is a horrendous artist. They have never had a good, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, that's just my opinion. And you're allowed to have your opinion. Maybe you think that my take is horrible. But I just think how we engage with things is important. I write what's in my heart, and like, that's it. And I appreciate that. I also appreciate the honesty of, like, but in a sense I can relate. The need to be great. Because it's like, it is that validation. I feel like I'm a decently confident person. It's not to say that I don't have insecurities. I try to approach my insecurities in the way of, like, is this something I can fix right now? If the answer is yes, cool. If the answer is no, then it's like, okay, then I'm not gonna sit here and tear myself down for something. What I need to do is I need to take steps into changing something. If this is something that I want to change, then I will do that. And that's not to say that I'm perfect on that. It's not to say that I don't beat myself up over things sometimes, because I do. But I try to keep telling myself and reiterating. And I try not to let that insecurity consume me. Because if I'm so consumed by the insecurity, I can't really address the insecurity because I'm too busy hating on it. So I try to operate my life like that. But we all get caught up in stuff. And so I appreciate him being honest about it and saying, like, it's easy to say, like, yeah, like, I don't care. But also, to a certain extent, it feels validating when you sell quite a bit of records, right? Because it's like, oh, people think that this is good. And you do get the awards and the accolades, or you break a record or something like that. Of course, parts of that feel good. And I think that that's okay. I think where it becomes dangerous is when that is the only thing fueling you, and that can make or break you. That's where I think you're starting to cross into territory where that's just not a good place to be. Again, the system is set up to be that way. I think it's good to call it out so hopefully we can start to make changes, but I think it's also acknowledging where it's at currently and how are we taking steps to make these things better while also living with the right now. And while this is talking about the industry, like, that's applicable to everyone. You can say, like, I want to be here, but I've got to understand where I'm at right now. And that's not to give yourself a free pass, trying to balance out, giving yourself enough grace to understand this is where I'm at now, but I am taking steps to move forward in some way. Turns into an obsession, and it'll keep you up late at night. You can fixate on something so much. And the thing is like, that fixation, I feel like this entire video is just me with a bunch of cliches and me saying everything in life is a balance, which, like, duh. But I feel like, I don't know, I have to remind myself of that all the time. I'll say it like this. Sometimes advice isn't for you. There are people, because of who they are as a person and the things they've gone through or whatever, they need those motivational videos that are like, you gotta keep trying, you gotta keep moving. If you just work harder, if you just push through. There are people who need that message. And for a while, I was like, that, yeah. I was on that, like, boss train, right? But somewhere along the way, I had to realize that sometimes messages are not for you and your own demons, because sometimes those things can be the absolute opposite of what you need. Inherently, I am super motivated and I will push and push and push. My problem was is that I got to a point where I was like, I was pushing so hard that I had nothing left. I was just burnt out, hospitalized at one point where it's like my body just had nothing left to give because I had just been going and going and pushing past limits for so long. Yeah, sometimes you do need to be told, no, keep going. And that's valid. But if that's the only thing you're hearing and you're someone who's already super motivated, sometimes you're the person who needs to hear you need to take a breather. You need to take a break. You need to sleep. But that advice may be the absolute opposite of what someone who is not pushing all the time needs to hear, especially in today's culture of like optimization. It's this worker bee mentality of like, if you want something, you just have to work harder for it to a certain extent and for certain people. And I think that is, for me, what a lot of my 20s was figuring out that can be genuinely great advice for some people and be absolutely detrimental to other people. And it's figuring out who you truly are when you're stripped back, like being super honest with yourself. It's figuring out what is yours to hold and what isn't. So I think that's a really great line of like, it turns into an obsession, because there was a point in my life where I was so fixated on productivity. It was like, I have to be productive, and I went past burnout. And those of you who are like neurodivergent, being on like a spectrum like that is a different level. That is running yourself to the point where this isn't just like a burnout, not to minimize that, because that is a very valid thing to be experiencing. But this is basically getting to burnout and going past it to the point where like your body shuts down. I was so fixated on this thing of like, well, if I was just better. No, I was in a horribly toxic environment, and it didn't matter how much I pushed. It didn't matter how much I showed how much I could do. It was always going to be taken advantage of. And that was something I had to learn. And it was a painful lesson. But I also have to deal with the fallout of that, which is now I have to remind myself constantly when I feel like I haven't done enough, when I feel like I used to could do this. Yeah, when you were pushing yourself to the point of your body shutting down, do you want to be in that state? Because how long can you stay there versus becoming more balanced? And it doesn't matter what it is. You can become obsessed with something, especially if the environment you're in is constantly reinforcing that. Writing words, hoping people observe the dedication, like hoping that people see the effort you're putting in. Sometimes you can be putting in so much effort and trying so hard, you feel like no one is even paying attention, or it's just expected, and no one sees that struggle. So sometimes that external validation makes you feel seen, makes you feel past that. And that's completely understandable. And I think to a certain level, again, that's okay. It's when it's controlling you, that stirs in you constantly, but intentions get blurred. Do I do it for the love of music, or is there more to me? And it's that questioning. And I think that is one of the best things we can do. And that's what I was getting at, is like, it's figuring out what is actually true. What is someone else putting on me? And what am I taking on of other people's stuff? Asking those questions and reflecting on those. Also finding people who you really, really trust to help be sounding boards, who hopefully, have your best intentions in mind. Figuring out that discernment for yourself. And the way you learn to trust yourself, though, is you have to be honest with yourself. And that means facing those truths of like, do I give myself an excuse? Am I not going for this because I'm scared? Or am I genuinely working so hard and trying and I need a break? And that's hard. It's hard to trust yourself, especially when you don't have people around you who have your best interest in mind. But I do think that just him questioning that is the step in the right direction. And that's what we have to do in order to be able to figure that out for ourselves. I also love the idea of this song also working as that for someone, right? Because he's like, someone should have told me it would be like this, and he's sitting here telling us what it's like, and getting you to think about these things. These rappers insecure, they're talking about being a man so much, I finally understand that they ain't even sure about who they are and why they do this. So it's like him seeing other people and feeling like their words and their actions aren't meeting up is making him reflect on his own actions and words and seeing like, do I feel like I fall into that category? And if I do fall into that category, where am I at? And what can I do to stay true to myself? I really love this. My highest moments come from telling all the saddest stories I've seen in my life. I be fiending to write songs that raise the hair on my arms. My lowest moments come from trying too hard. Ooh, ooh, that's beautiful. Like, not beautiful in the sense that, like, I hate that he feels that way. He's had to go through that, but beautiful way of stating that. To impress someone that they couldn't care less about me. Like, I'm working so hard to impress people who, like, don't even have my best intentions in mind. We're never going to give me a fair shot. Things like that. Like, that is so relatable. I want to give hope like the fountains you throw pennies in. That might be one of my favorite lines. I think that's one of the ways that it seems like he's trying to figure out, even if I do find myself like, you know, wanting commercial success or wanting the critics, I think a logical way that is a way to try to kind of offset that while living in the industry that he's living in, right, is to say, can I at least say that my intentions, even if I do get some clout, even if I do get some fame, some success, even if I do get some critical acclaim, am I still trying to bring hope to people through the stories I'm telling? Even if those stories aren't always positive, the way I'm going to stay true to myself is that I'm trying to share stories that give people hope. And if that is true, and I am doing that, then that is the level of success. And whether the fame comes, the success comes, no matter which way it goes, that's how I have defined success for me, is what that sounds like to me. And I think that's a really, really cool way of saying it. So like whatever comes with the hit your store, take your disc, make your wish, this is dedicated to the ones that listen to me on some faithful shit. This is for the people who actually want to hear the stories and feel like they benefit them and those types of things. I love that. I'm on some thankful shit. The real God is in you, not the music you coppin'. I hear my old shit now and I know I can top it. Or it's like he's reflecting back. I'm going to keep pursuing my art. I'm going to keep reflecting. I'm going to keep sharing stories. Maybe he's reflecting on some songs and saying, maybe that wasn't the most authentic me. Or maybe he just means in general, he wants to keep going forward. And that's not to diminish anything in the past. I think both things can be true. Maybe he means it both ways. Maybe he means it one way or the other. I don't think we'll ever know. But I like the way he says it.
Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this, be like this. Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this. False prophets. Somebody should have told me it would be like this, be like this, be like this. Somebody should have told me it would be like this. False prophets.
I loved that song. Obviously, I had a lot to say about that song. I did not expect to spend that much time on this song. I still had one more track. I'm hoping it's not as long as this one because my lord, this video is getting long. But overall, I love how he started with this one thing at the beginning. And like I said, I wanted to treat this like I kind of treat Taylor stuff. Sometimes you're talking about maybe this one thing, but it is a bigger narrative. And a lot of times it's also a reflection on yourself. But I love in that first verse of talking about ego. And that is such a big piece of this is like confidence. And when is it hubris? You know, when is it the ego taking over, not hearing feedback? And sometimes people are around you that do not have your best interest in mind, whether that be that they are playing a yes man or whether that be that they are purposely tearing you down. Ego can take over. Acknowledging that you have to have those people around you who you feel like trust and have your best interest in mind, and also working on yourself enough to be able to look in the mirror and say, do I see a point in what these people are saying? Someone who I idolized, I'm now seeing might not be who I thought they were or have changed. But then also, I think what's great about this is that then it also turns inwards to saying like, okay, I see this in this person, but do I also see it in myself at all? And I think that is what makes someone like really self-aware, is that reflection inward as well as external, because it's balancing those things out. A really great way to approach it and a really fair way to approach it. Okay, we have one last song, which is from 2016, from 2019, which is called Middle Child.
You good, T-minus? Niggas been counting me out, I'm counting my bullets, I'm loading my clips, I'm writing down names, I'm making a list, I'm checking it twice and I'm getting them hit. The real ones been dying, the fake ones is lit, the game is off balance, I'm back on my shit. The Bentley is dirty, my sneakers is dirty, but that's how I like it, you all on my dick, I'm all in my bag, as hard as it get, I do not store powder, I might take a sip, I might.
First of all, I I gotta stop it here. I love the production. I like this cadence a lot. Really big fan of that.
I'm all in my bag, as hard as it get. I do not store powder, I might take a sip. I might hit the blunt, but I'm liable to trip. I ain't popping no pill, but you do as you wish. I roll with some fiends, I love them to death. I got a few mil, but not all of them rich. What good is the bread if my niggas is broke? What good is first class if my niggas can't sit? That's my next mission, that's why I can't quit. Just like LeBron, get my niggas more chips. Just put the rollie right back on my wrist. This watch came from Drizzy, he gave me a gift. Back when the rap game was praying like this. They act like two legends cannot coexist. But I never beef with a nigga for nothing. If I smoke a rapper, it's gonna be legit. It won't be for clout, it won't be for fame. It won't be cause my shit ain't selling the same. It won't be to sell you my latest little sneakers. It won't be cause some niggas slid in my lane.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so this was 2019. Interesting knowing what I know. That is really interesting. Also, I feel like this particular track gives a lot of context to apology and stuff, which I know is a controversial thing amongst Cole fans. I know. So like I really don't want to get into it. But for me, outsider, again, my opinion, take that with a grain of salt. I am a random person on the internet. But for me personally, I appreciate anybody who is willing to say, regardless if I agree that they did something right or wrong, if something felt wrong to them and they felt the need to correct or apologize or switch course or whatever that looks like, someone staying true to their own values is something that I really appreciate. Taking that accountability and staying true to oneself. I think that that is admirable. It is really interesting to hear this song in that context because seeing where this one started and then seeing where he went, I feel like honestly even gives more understanding to me of where he ended up where he did with, you know, stepping out of that, going on stage and being like, I have love for all. I know his reaction was a little bit divisive for people. I feel like, from what I understand, at least in the comment section for me, a pretty split bag into if you were to do it, you should have done it, and being disappointed that you didn't do it. On the flip side, it was like, yeah, you needed to do it. And then you've got people kind of in the middle who are like, I'm not surprised you did this because of this. And to me, that's kind of where I fall, at least from the little bit I know, because now even seeing this, even like I said, gives me even more context. I'm counting my bullets, I'm loading my clips, I'm writing down names, I'm making a list. I love that I'm checking it twice and I'm getting them hit. I love the checking it twice. The real one's been dying, the fake one's is lit. Interesting. I don't want this video to devolve. Those of you who know my stances on things, I do think that is very, very, very interesting to see how that's going to evolve. But anyways, moving on. The game is off balance. I'm back on my shit. The Bentley is dirty. And I love him talking about, like, I'm not interested in all this other stuff, but you do as you wish. That's your business. I roll with some fiends. I love them to death. Like, these are my people. I got a few mil, but not all of them rich. But I love what good is the bread if is broke? Like, what good is this if I can't help uplift and support the people around me? That's really cool. I really like that. What good is first class if, like, my friends can't sit with me? I'd rather be, back in economy if it means we're all together. That's my next mission. That's why I can't quit. This isn't just about me. Like, I'm doing this for all the people around me. I'm doing this for my family, my friends. I mean, whatever that looks like for you. Back when the rap game was praying I'd diss. Like I said, very interesting going back to this. And it is really interesting to see that full circle moment too of him on stage being like, I know a lot of people are going to be mad that I'm doing this. But he was like, this isn't sitting right for me and my soul and my own values. So, like, that's enough for me to say something because it doesn't sit right for me, regardless of what anybody else says. They act like two legends cannot coexist. I do like that line. I wouldn't beef for nothing. If I smoke a rapper, it's going to be legit. It won't be for clout or for fame or because I'm, like, jealous of them or because they slid into my lane. I like that a lot.
Thing grows, it's destined to change. I love you little niggas, I'm glad that you came. I hope that you scrape every dollar you came. I hope you know money won't erase the pain. Ooh. To the OGs, I'm thanking you now. Was watching you when you was paving the ground. I copied your cadence, I mirrored your style. I studied the greats, I'm the greatest right now. Fuck if you feel me, you ain't got a choice. I ain't do no promo, still made all that noise. The shit gon' be different, I set my intentions. I promise to slap all that hate out your voice. Ooh. Niggas been counting me out, I'm counting my bullets, I'm loading my clips. I'm writing down names, I'm making a list. I'm checking it twice and I'm getting them hit. The real one's been dying, the fake ones is lit. The game is off balance, I'm back on my shit. The Bentley is dirty, my sneakers is dirty, but that's how I like it, you all on my dick.
I loved that he mixed in this, it's honoring the people who came before him, which is something I always really appreciated about the Kendrick journey, of him like always acknowledging and shouting out, not only in his personal life, like people who he lost along the way, the people who made him the way he is, the things that he learned, but also all the people who paved the way before him within the game. That was just always such a core thing, and him always wanting to give back, right? And that's what this feels like. I hope you know that money won't erase the pain, but to watch the OGs, like, I'm thanking you now. Like, I want to thank you for paving the way to allow hip hop to get to the point where it's at. From where I'm sitting, I copied your cadence, I mirrored your style. Like, you were a teacher to me, and I learned from you, and I appreciate you. I'm setting my intentions. Like, you know, I'm gonna slap that hate out of your voice. You can talk about hate, but like, my work speaks for itself, essentially, and I love that.
I just poured something in my cup. I've been wanting something I can feel. Promise I am never letting up. Money in your palm don't make you real. Foot is on their neck, I got them stuck. I'ma give them something they can feel. If it ain't about the squad, don't give a fuck. Pistol in your hand, I'm dead in the middle of two generations. I'm little bro and big bro all at once. Just left the lab with your
Duh. Middle child. He was saying, like, thank you to the people, older, you know, siblings, essentially. I'm stuck in the middle of two generations. I'm not a part of, you know, those who necessarily were the start and like paved the way, but I'm also not brand new and it's being stuck like as the middle child. Oh, okay. I like that a lot.
Just left the lab with young 21 Savage. I'm about to go on me jigger for lunch. Had a long talk with a young nigga Kodak. Reminded me of young niggas from Ville. Straight out the projects, no faking, just honest. I wish that he had more guidance for real. Too many niggas in cycle of jail, spending their birthdays inside of a cell. We coming from a long bloodline of trauma. We raised by our mamas, Lord, we gotta heal. We hurting our sisters, the babies as well. We killing our brothers, they poison the well. Distorted self-image, we settle to fail. I'ma make sure that the real gon' prevail, nigga.
Oh, that was really good. I love that. Straight out the projects, no faking, just honest. I wish that he had more guidance for real. Too many in cycle of jail, spending their birthdays inside of a cell. Ooh. We coming from a long bloodline of trauma. We raised by our mamas, Lord, we gotta heal. We hurting our sisters, the babies as well. We killing our brothers, they poison the well. Oof. Distorted self-image we set up to fail. The whole entire system is built off of racism, highlighting like the institution and the way everything is set up automatically at a disadvantage. Acknowledging like we come from this like bloodline of trauma, but then also highlighting I want to do something different. I want all of us to heal. Like, I want to heal and I want us all to heal. Like, oh, the distorted self-image we set up to fail. Like, it's like acknowledging like, all these things are stacked against us and all this stuff, and like he's still wanting to push forward and to try to do something different. And
I just poured something in my cup. I've been wanting something I can feel. Promise I am never letting up. Money in your palm don't make you real. Foot is on their neck, I got them stuck. I'ma give them something they can feel.
I love the horn elements that are kind of present, like in these pockets where they really like have their moment. I love the production.
About the squad, don't give a fuck. Pistol in your hand don't make you real. Money in your palm don't make you real.
Oh, I absolutely loved how he made that. It didn't even feel necessarily like a full like fade out. It was like staggered. I don't, you know, guys, I'm not good with the terminology here. I'm sure there's a term for this that I am unaware of. He just like turned down the volume to where it was like, are you really listening? Oh, that was good. I did not expect to film that long for this one video. Whoops. I know I went on a lot of side tangents though, so overall, I loved that. I'm not surprised. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I've enjoyed everything I've heard so far, and I already had some of his songs on a playlist, so like I am not surprised by any means, but I did really, really enjoy that. Diving into his discography in the future whenever we get to that point, I do think I really enjoy it. I also, again, really enjoy all of his productions and storytelling, and the things that he has to say is, you know, really at the forefront. I feel like, at least from what I've seen so far, it seems like that is probably going to gel really well with me as well, which is really cool. So I look forward to it whenever we get to that point. Great choices as always. Patreon Salem's Coven members in particular, like I feel like you guys do such a good job, you know, of choosing these tracks and giving me something that you think I'm gonna like. So I really appreciate you guys. I've been getting enough recommendations that have allowed me to kind of stagger throughout time periods with each of the artists that we've done in this series. I really like doing it like that, just to see kind of how maybe their perspectives have changed a little bit, or just sonically how they're approaching things more recently versus when they were earlier in their career. I've been talking for enough time, so I'll end it here, but overall, loved. As always, I'm sure there is tons that I missed. I always do. I want to know your thoughts. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did I miss? And I will see you in the next one. Bye.